Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Happy Mind, Happy Life podcast, where we take a few minutes each week to pause, breathe, reflect, and connect about how we can create more peace, more joy, and more calm in our everyday life. I'm your host, Michelle Woerdeman, and I am so grateful you decided to hit play today. What's happening, friends? Welcome back to the Happy Mind, Happy Life podcast. I am so happy you are here with me today. It is December 1st. We are looking at the end of 2025, and 2026 is right around the corner, which is crazy. Life, I feel like, just continues to go by fast. And that saying, life goes by fast when you're having fun, I totally agree with, because I have been having a lot of fun this year. So I hope you have too. But today's conversation, I think so many of us can relate to. And this time of year can be a perfect reminder that sometimes we need to start to learn to let go of things that we thought we wanted. And this has come up quite a bit with clients, I would say, over the last couple months as people start to, kind of reevaluate, how their year went and what they want to look forward to in the coming year. So I thought this was a great opportunity to take and, just allow you to be here, be in the present moment, maybe take a, nice, long, deep breath in and just let yourself be so you can start to tune in, look inward, and ask yourself, is there something that you're holding on to that maybe it's time to let go of? It could be a relationship, friends, somebody you might be dating. Maybe it's a place, an identity, or an outcome that you've held so close. And what if we just learn to trust that what's meant for you will never require you to feel like you have to hold on so tightly? And I'll talk more about that going forward. But again, wherever you are right now, just take a slow breath with me and give yourself permission to just simply be here. And when I talk about letting go of things, a lot of times it rarely begins with, a big dramatic moment. It usually starts as a whisper, that subtle inner knowing that something that once felt aligned now feels just a little bit off. Maybe the connection doesn't feel as easy with a friend or a partner. Maybe the dream that you had doesn't feel as alive. Or maybe the place that once grounded you now feels a little bit too small. And it's almost confusing because nothing big has really happened. No blow-ups, no explosions, but just a quiet shift, a softness that something isn't sitting the way that it used to. And because we're human, because we're loyal and hopeful and, really creatures of habit, we often ignore that whisper at first. We kind of bargain with ourselves, like we try to push it down, but then you notice that whisper usually grows louder until we finally pay attention. And when I say these whispers can go on for a long time, whether it's weeks, months, years even. If you keep having that little subtle whisper, that intuition that something doesn't feel aligned, you're probably right. So here's where it kind of gets a little bit complicated. Letting go isn't hard because the thing was always perfect. It's hard because it's familiar. Our brains crave predictability. They crave routine. They crave what they know. And even if what they know is no longer aligned, we still want to cling on to that. That's just how we are designed as humans. We cling on to old versions of ourselves. We cling to relationships that once felt comforting. We cling to dreams that we haven't updated in years. Let's see, I don't know, we could cling to the identity we imagined we'd have by this age. Maybe it's a certain weight or a certain amount of money or whatever your career might be. And then we cling to the illusion of control because the unknown feels terrifying. So even if something doesn't feel aligned, doesn't feel great, we still as humans have a tendency to cling on to these things simply because we know them. They are familiar. But here's the truth that I've learned again and again. Clinging to what's no longer aligned hurts far more than releasing ever will. I have personally went through a situation that I realized it was a friendship that I was holding on to, but something over the last couple of years, gosh, I can't even believe it's been a couple of years, but there was always these like little whispers of maybe this friendship has ran its course. It doesn't look like it used to. And that's okay. I mean, friendships change all the time. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But something just felt kind of off to me. I felt as though I was holding on to an illusion of what this friendship used to be. And there was some guilt around wanting to walk away from it, not really knowing how. But I also realized that I was the one putting in the effort. I don't know if anybody of you can relate to that, whether it's with a friendship or another area of your life. But just slowly, like that whisper started to get a little bit louder. My intuition, your gut feeling, they're often right. And then I kind of just had this aha moment a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of done. I am moving on from this friendship, and it's okay. It's totally okay. It can feel scary and bad. You almost grieve. We go through the grieving process of things that we once thought were going to work out a certain way or look a certain way. And I just think it's important when you start to slowly hear these whispers and feel that gut that something just doesn't feel right, just to learn to start to listen to it. And this brings me to one of like the deepest, most emotional layers of letting go, and it's the grieving process. It could be grieving for an outcome that we once prayed for. I think about the song Garth Brooks sings, and thank God for unanswered prayers. Can you think about something that you used to like pray for? Like, oh my gosh, I remember, going back to like my young teenage years. Like, I probably prayed for certain boys to to like me or want to date me. And it's kind of like, oh, thank God those prayers didn't work out. But, there's things in my life, like I said, this friendship or identities or even places that I once wanted with what I thought was every part of me and things I poured my heart into, things that I thought, would last forever. And being in a season now where, for me personally, I'm gently reevaluating a lot of different areas in my life, not because they went wrong, not because I think I failed, but because I've grown. There's a grieving part to that. Yeah, and I do. I always think about that Garth Brooks song. So if there's an area in your life, and you might not know it now, but maybe at the end of this podcast, or maybe, if you're out for a walk, that you can just maybe take a peek and look inward and think, is there something that doesn't feel aligned for me right now? And that phrase, sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers, like, isn't that the truth? Sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that things we once begged for or we thought may no longer fit the person who we've become. Nothing has gone wrong. We have just outgrown these ideas. Sometimes, the dream fulfilled would have held us back. Sometimes the relationship we thought was going to last forever was meant to be a chapter, not the entire book. And sometimes the thing we didn't get was the exact protection or the redirection that we needed. When I look back now, there are things that I desperately wanted, opportunities, different identities, and that just wouldn't support the person that I am today. And I can finally see the gift in that. So if you're grieving something you thought would turn out differently, if you're mourning a dream, a relationship, or a life path that just didn't unfold the way you imagined, one, you're not alone. You're not broken. You, my friend, are growing. And as you grow, part of letting go is understanding that not all relationships are meant to be lifetime relationships. Some people come into our lives. We've heard the saying, like for a moment, a season, a lesson, or just a beautiful stretch of time. And then they drift. It doesn't mean, that the relationship went bad. It doesn't mean that anybody was right or wrong. It just means the contract between you, the energetic purpose has been fulfilled. That's how I am looking at this friendship that I have decided has just, right now, it's no longer serving me. And nobody did anything wrong. It's just, you know what, that energy has now shifted. And I think that time has been fulfilled for what it was supposed to be. So again, maybe you felt this. If it's a relationship, do conversations feel forced? Does the effort feel one-sided? You don't like who you become when you're around this person? Or despite caring deeply, you sense that you're growing in different directions. This doesn't make, that friendship that, maybe it's a partner, significant other, it doesn't make that love any less real. It just means that the time is complete. And sometimes letting go of a relationship is one of the most loving things you can do for both people, because staying in something out of obligation prevents both of you from evolving. Even when we know a chapter is closing, there's always that inner tug of war too. So if you've ever tried to end something, maybe it's leaving a career. I struggled with this years ago when I left. There's that internal tug of war. Like some of the things I remember thinking, like, what if I'm making a mistake? Like, what if I regret this? What if nothing becomes, better? What if I'm not ready? And you've probably had these thoughts too when you are about to embark on something that might seem completely different from what you thought. These thoughts are normal and they're actually protective. They're what the brain does when we stand at the edge of something new. But here's the reframe. What if something better is waiting and it can't reach you while your hands are full of what used to be? What if the next version of you is calling? What if you're not losing? You are just making space. And, letting go isn't always about people. I don't mean to just focus on the relationship part. Sometimes it's about the version of ourselves we still expect to be, the weight we thought we'd maintain, the level of productivity we used to have. Boy, that was a big one for me to realize. I used to, 60 plus hours a week. I was go, working, always on email, like doing all the things. So when my life shifted, that was a huge piece for me to realize, like, oh my gosh, like, am I not productive enough? And it's like, oh my gosh, I look back, I would never want that version of me in my life now. So I am as productive as I want to be. I am not forced to be. And that was really eye-opening for me. I had to let go of that person that I thought I had to be and how active and how, quote, busy I was supposed to be in order to be successful and, kind of doing things right. But yeah, so it could be a relationship. Maybe it's a relationship we thought we'd always be in, whether it's a friendship again or a partner, the business or the role we thought we'd keep forever, the way we believed life should look by now. But growth requires releasing outdated identities. It requires saying things like, I'm allowed to evolve. I'm allowed to change my mind. And I'm allowed to want something different now. You can honor who you were and what once was while moving into who you're becoming. Like both of these can be true. And one of the biggest emotional traps I see is holding on to the fantasy of how things could have gone. We don't stay attached to the reality. Oftentimes we stay attached to the potential, the dream, the imagined future, the maybe someday. But fantasies aren't relationships. Fantasies aren't aligned careers. Fantasies aren't real lives. When we finally see things as they are, not how they could be or how they were, that's when clarity arrives. That's when peace can begin. Like, think about that. Really, like, I'm thinking about this for my own self, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what, like that whisper that I had for so long and the nudges that my instincts were telling me and my gut was telling me, like once you can become aware and just acknowledge, like, you know what? This just isn't for me right now, or anymore for that matter. There's such a sense of peace there, which is so nice. And I want to offer to you, if you're like wondering about, how to know when a chapter is truly complete, here are a couple questions that you can ask yourself. And this could also be a habit too. I forgot to mention that. Like this could be something that you've done for year after year. It's a particular habit that you're just realizing isn't serving you anymore. But some of these questions you can ask yourself, whether you journal or just sit down and, take a couple of these and just think about them. When you think about this particular situation, person, place, thing, whatever it is, ask yourself, do I feel expanded or contracted? Do I feel like myself? Am I holding on out of love or fear? Oftentimes it's fear and we don't realize it. Does this support who I am becoming? Is this draining my energy or nourishing it? When I think about some of the other relationships I've walked past or walked through, I guess, over the course of my, I don't know, no, I won't say 47 years, but over the course of a long time, there were people in my life that I kept having a relationship with certain friends that I would find myself just being mentally and physically drained. Do you know anybody like that in your life that mentally and physically drains you? Yeah, like ask yourself that. Or it could be a job, a habit. Is this draining my energy or is it nourishing it? Am I staying because it's aligned or am I staying because it's familiar? When you stop and think about some of these questions, your mind might hesitate, but your body never lies. So one of the practices I do with clients is when we tune in, and I do this with my business coach all the time to see what is aligned in the next step of my business and where I want to go, is when you stop and ask yourself these questions, maybe place a hand on your heart and see how your body reacts when you think about whatever it is that you're thinking and wondering if it's time. Because our bodies do not lie. They are energy. Everything is energy. Our brain will start to create stories sometimes, but your body will react. And there's your answer. Which again, once you realize that, it can just be so peaceful. And letting go of something or someone doesn't mean they didn't matter. It means it mattered enough that you can honor it without forcing it to be something it is no longer. You can love something very deeply and still release it. You can miss someone and still know you're not meant to go backward. You can be grateful for the memories that something gave you, but still trust that there's something new and better ahead. Letting go is not abandonment. It's self-respect. It's alignment. It's a sacred transition. And every ending creates space. Space for clarity, space for new relationships, space for new dreams. Heck, space for a new version of you that you might not even have ever thought about would exist. And I promise that space is not emptiness. It's possibility. Your job isn't to fill it immediately. Your job is to honor that space, breathe into that space, and to trust the next chapter will meet you exactly where you need. And before we close, just, if you can, place a hand on your heart and let a gentle breath move out of your body and repeat quietly, I release what has run its course. I trust the timing of my life. I am guided toward what is meant for me, and I am becoming the person I was always meant to be. I want to thank you for sharing this space with me today. And if you need deeper support in the season of release, I've linked a guided meditation, which is called Releasing What Has Run Its Course. And yeah, it just pairs beautifully with everything that we talked about today. And just know wherever you are, whatever chapter you're in, you're safe, you're supported, and you're growing. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters begin right after the ones you never expected to close. Thank you so much, my friends. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Mind, Happy Life podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please share it with a friend or someone who you think could use a little extra calm and joy today. And to stay connected, follow me on Instagram at mbwliving or visit mbwliving.com. And remember, a happy mind truly creates a happy life. Cheers.